Hafaday Guam, welcome to Coffee with the Candidates. My name is Leo Payumo, and I'm here today interviewing current Senator Amanda Shelton. Good afternoon, Amanda.
Hafaday, Leo.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking time out to come on the program and talk about what's going on with your Guam legislature. All right, so I got some questions set here. Again, let me start with the first one.
Okay.
All right, I hope these are okay with you.
Sure, they're going to be a surprise, so
All right,
I'm ready.
Here we go. Question number one I have for you today is, what will be your first legislative initiative if you are reelected?
Thanks for that question. Well, this term I've been focusing a lot on our Manamku, our youth, and our environment. So those are the bills that I've been pushing, and I've been successful with many of them. I have a few bills that we're still going to be working on over the next couple of months to finish up the term. And if those aren't able to be completed, then I hope to accomplish them in the next term.
Okay, good to know that. Okay, next thing is, the next question I have for you is, how will you ensure better management of government funds so that Guam does not repeat a threat of the government shutdown and layoffs?
Thank you. Well, I think right now the problem that we're facing is not necessarily management of funds, but having a slowdown in revenues for the government. As we all know, we're faced with this coronavirus pandemic. We're in the midst of a crisis, and we're expecting to lose some revenues in the coming year. And it'll be about tightening our belts and being able to fulfill all of the mandates that the government is faced with, ensuring that we provide all of the necessary services to the people of Guam and making the cuts around that.
Okay. Why are you, it's an obvious question, but why are you running again for re-election?
Well, I've always felt a very strong call to public service. And in the last election, I mustered up the courage to answer that call. And I've found that this is really a great place to work, to see change come into place. And so the gears of change are moving, and I want to continue that effort. I've been very, very humbled by the support that I received in the last election and in this election. And I know the people of Guam still need someone to work for them, to serve them, and to be someone that they can trust to be their voice in the legislature.
Okay, I know that your father was a former senator, Sonny Shelton. How much of an influence did he have on you?
Oh, he's totally one of my biggest influences. He passed away many years ago now, but he's still someone that I think about all the time. A great inspiration for me, someone who I think about every single day. And when I go out in public, I meet many people who he touched in their lives, who he helped. And that is something that I want to continue to do and be able to help the people just like he did.
Okay. Now the next question I'm going to ask you is, do you believe non-Chamorros but residents of Guam should be able to vote in a plebiscite for Guam's political status?
Well, I think the right for the Chamorro people to self-determination is extremely important. This is an injustice that has gone on for far too long, and the people of Guam, the Chamorro people, deserve the right to gain closure for this injustice and to make the decision on their own for what they want to be, what they want the status of our island to be in the future.
So what is your position on that?
Well, I would like to see any vote for self-determination on Guam, anything that the people of Guam choose. Personally, I believe that independence would be the best choice for Guam that could right the wrongs of injustice of colonization of the past. But I understand that that'll be up to the people of Guam. We first need to educate ourselves, learn all of the options, what the possible consequences are, and move forward together.
And what kind of work have you done so far being a senator in regards to, this movement?
Well, this term I have been the chairwoman of the Committee on Higher Education and the Advancement of Women, Youth, and Senior Citizens. So the first bill that I introduced and passed right out of the gate was a bill to protect our Manamku from physical abuse, from emotional abuse, and from financial exploitation. This is a growing problem throughout the states, throughout our island. And I wanted to make sure that the Manamku of our island had the law behind them so that they could feel the trust in our government to report these kind of problems. As you know, we are shy to talk about problems that we have within our families, and many of these manamku who are being financially exploited it's happening to them by their family, by their close friends, and so I wanted to give them that kind of recourse. I've also been able to find funding for a youth summer internship program within the government of Guam to help our youth find their passion early on in life and hopefully find that passion in public service. Unfortunately, because of the coronavirus crisis, we're unable to see that program happening this summer, but hopefully in the next summer we'll see it. I also passed legislation to move our renewable energy standard to 100% by 2045 and move our entire island towards more sustainability. I think that's really important. In the last budget cycle, we were able to get funding for job coaches for individuals with disabilities who are working within the government of Guam. These are just some of the initiatives that I've championed over the last year and a half. And the latest one has been the Adzuda Imangafa program, which is a local stimulus program for the coronavirus crisis for those who were left out of the federal stimulus package. Students and young people between the ages of 17 to 24, their parents didn't receive any stimulus money for them. So as you know, dependents received $500 within their family. And so this group of 17 to 24-year-old young people who are working, who are going to school, didn't receive any of that relief. So that was passed in our last legislative session. And hopefully we'll start seeing those payments come out in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah.
The next question I want to ask you is, we have a lot of homeless people on Guam. You see them all over the place. What's your position on that? I know there's a movement, a big movement trying to get them housed and everything, but where do you personally stand on that?
Well, I think we're making a great effort right now. We're seeing the condominiums that just went up and are housing the homeless people now. I participated in some activities going out for outreach for the homeless and just talking with them. You realize that the problems that they're faced with are more than just homelessness. There are lots of underlying issues that need to be addressed, whether it's drug or alcohol abuse or mental health issues. I think we have to get to the root of the problem.
What do you think the root of the problem is?
Well, that's what I think it is. It's the social economic issues that we're being faced with. So drug and alcohol abuse and mental health issues that, eventually will lead to homelessness. So we need better services to combat those issues.
Have you experienced any family members in regards to people being homeless or anybody close to you personally?
Not necessarily a family member, but when I've been out on the street, I visited some homeless people here in Tumon. I've met many of the homeless people who are in Hagåtña, who are around the legislature building, who are there walking around the streets, and I've had the chance to talk to a couple of them and share their story. And so no, not personally a family member, but I have talked to many. And
what have these people, stories what have they been, what have they given you as far as the stories that, the experience that they're going through?
Well, obviously every situation is very sad and very different. I've met some who are looking, just for the immediate handout, who need some assistance right away, but some who I've invited to come to my office to talk, to see if there are any services available to them. We've been able to connect some people to different services in our community to help them, get their feet off the ground.
Do you think a large part, not every one of them, but do you think a large part of it has to do with how expensive housing is for these people?
That's definitely one of the issues on Guam. Yeah, housing is really, really going up, and that's a big issue for many of our people, being able to afford it. And yes, you're right.
Okay, next question I'm going to ask you is, this is going to be to, in regards to some of your colleagues out there. Can you name one decision that, you as senators have made in the past 4 years that you totally agree with?
That I totally agree with. Well, I can tell you the bills that we've passed in this legislature, especially the bills that I mentioned to you, such as the last one, the Adzuda Imangafa program. We stayed late into the night to decide on that bill, to vote on that bill, to make sure that these people who were left out of the federal stimulus package had the opportunity to receive a little bit of help to get them through this pandemic. So I've seen lots of opportunities over the last year and a half since I've been a senator where we've been able to help the people of Guam. And, I don't always vote yes or no or agree with all of my colleagues, but it takes us all to come to consensus, to negotiate, to compromise, and do what's best for the people.
How about, can you name one senator, past or present, that has truly inspired you and why?
Oh, well, thanks. You brought him up a little bit earlier. My dad, I wasn't born while he was a senator on Guam, but he remains my inspiration today. I knew that at some point in my life, I wanted to run for senator because I wanted to be like my dad and wanted to follow in his footsteps.
When did that happen? When did you realize, like, wow, my father was a former senator? When did that kick in? When you were a teenager? How long has that been going?
Well, I think I always knew in the back of my mind because I saw pictures of him. I saw caricatures of him and things that said, elect, please vote for Sonny Shelton. So I always knew that he was a senator in the back of my mind. But it wasn't until I was already out of college and, very involved in the political scene, working for Congresswoman Berdalio, working in the Guam legislature, that I started to think that this might be a future for me. I definitely did not think I would be a senator at this age, this young, but I felt the calling and I answered it.
So, but back when you were going to school on Guam, it wasn't really set in your mind yet?
No, not really. I know that I always loved politics. I always was stepping up to be a leader, as a class president, as a volunteer, all of these different things. So I knew that it was something that I loved. I loved helping, serving the people. So I knew eventually one day it was going to be something that I looked forward to, just not this early.
Oh, so growing up while you were going to school here, by the way, what school did you go to?
I graduated from the academy and then I graduated from the University of Guam.
So while going to high school at the academy, you were always involved with the political?
Oh, yeah. I loved politics from a young age. My family was always very involved. When I got to the academy, I ran for class president in my freshman year. And so it was always something that it was exciting and I knew that I could be a part of change.
Okay, so I guess that explains where you're at now.
Sure.
All right, well, Amanda, time has run out and I want to thank you again for taking the time out to come talk to us right here on Having Coffee with the Candidates. Again, our time is done and I want to thank you again for joining us here. Please stay tuned to Sorensen Media Group for our future interviews with other senators on Coffee with the Candidates.